The music was loud, laughter spilling out of the backyard like sunlight. From the street, it looked like the perfect family celebration. Tables covered with food, fairy lights glowing, and people I'd known my whole life raising glasses in joy. Except I hadn't been invited. I only found out about the party through a mutual friend's social media story, my own parents' anniversary celebration. Maybe the invite got lost? At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe they assumed I couldn't make it. But when I showed up, gift in hand, my mother's smile froze. My father's jaw tightened. "Why are you here?" he asked quietly, like I'd crashed a stranger's wedding. "I came to celebrate," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. I didn't even know until I saw the pictures online. My sister laughed, that sharp, mocking laugh that used to echo through our childhood fights. "You weren't invited," she said, setting down her drink, "and there was a reason for that." I blinked. A reason? My dad sighed, rubbing his temples. "We didn't invite you for a reason," he said flatly, his tone cold and final. "We just wanted one peaceful night without your usual tension." The words hit harder than I expected. My usual tension? That's how they saw me. Not a person, but a problem. Around the table, people avoided my eyes. My aunt shifted awkwardly. My uncle cleared his throat. No one said a word in my defense. I placed the gift I brought, a framed old family photo, on the table and looked at them one last time. "You didn't need to invite me to keep your peace," I said softly. "You lost that a long time ago." Then I turned and walked out, leaving the lights, the laughter, and everything that once felt like home behind me. Outside, under the soft hum of the streetlights, I took a deep breath. My hands trembled, but my chest felt lighter. If they thought excluding me was peace, I'd show them what real peace looked like. The kind that came when you stopped begging to belong. When I walked out of that family party, the laughter echoing behind me felt colder than the night air. I didn't cry right away. I just stood outside under the porch light, staring at the windows, glowing gold from inside. Every shadow moving past them was someone I had grown up with. My parents, my sister, my cousins, people I used to believe would always be my home. I had dressed up for that night, hoping maybe things would be different. Maybe my parents would finally look at me the way they used to, proud, warm, full of love. But instead, they made sure everyone heard those words. "We didn't invite you for a reason." And the worst part was how casually they said it, like they were discussing the weather. I drove home in silence. My hand shook on the steering wheel, but not from anger. It was grief. Slow, deep, heavy grief. You spend your whole life thinking family is unconditional, until one day they prove it's anything but. When I got home, I sat at the kitchen table still wearing my party clothes and just stared. The house felt smaller than ever. Every little thing around me reminded me of them. The photo of us at the lake, the ugly ceramic vase my mom insisted I keep, the birthday card from my dad that once meant something. I opened my phone and saw a few missed calls from distant relatives who'd been at the party. Most messages started with, "I'm sorry for what they said," but ended with, "You know how they are." That last part hurt more than anything else. Everyone knew how they were, and no one ever said a word. The next morning, I woke up determined to do something I'd been putting off for years. Leave. I had built my entire life around earning their approval, constantly shrinking myself to fit inside their expectations. My dad wanted me in the family business. My mom wanted me to marry someone respectable. And when I chose to chase my own career instead, it was like I'd committed betrayal. I packed slowly, carefully. Not just clothes or books, but the small pieces of myself I'd abandoned. The art supplies I hadn't touched since college, my old camera, a stack of notebooks filled with unfinished ideas. That night, I called my sister. She was quiet for a long time after I told her what happened. Then she whispered, "They shouldn't have said that, but you know they didn't mean it." I wanted to believe her, but I could still hear the laughter in my head, the smirk on my mother's face when she said I wasn't invited. The way my father didn't even look at me afterward. They meant every word. 2 days later, I found an apartment listing in another city. Small, affordable, near where I could actually build a future on my own terms. It scared me, but it also felt freeing. I'd rather live alone in peace than surrounded by people who pretended to love me. When I told my parents I was leaving, my mom's response was, "Don't be dramatic." My dad said nothing. It was almost funny. I was finally doing the one thing they'd always threatened me with, walking away. Before I left, I went back to the house one last time. The party decorations were still there, a few streamers hanging from the ceiling. My mom didn't even look up when I walked in. I left a note on the dining table. Short, simple, final. You made your choice that night. Now I'm making mine. I walked out without looking back. For the first time, the road ahead didn't scare me. It felt like breathing fresh air after years of suffocation. I didn't know exactly where I was going, but I knew it was somewhere they couldn't follow. A place where I could finally exist without having to prove I deserved to be loved. 6 months later, I was living in a quiet apartment with wide windows and sunlight that spilled across the floor each morning. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I had a job I actually enjoyed, friends who treated me like family, and peace I didn't even know I was capable of feeling. One afternoon, while I was cooking dinner, my phone rang. It was my mother. For a moment, I just stared at the screen, my stomach tightening. I hadn't spoken to them since the day I left. When I finally picked up, her voice was shaky. She said they were hosting another family gathering and that my sister insisted I should come. I asked quietly, "Did you want me there?" Silence. Then she said, almost reluctantly, "It would be nice if you showed up." That night, I didn't sleep much. Old wounds reopened, old doubts whispered. But I went, not for them, but for myself, to prove I wasn't the broken version of me they once enjoyed tearing apart. When I walked in, conversations paused. My parents looked older, smaller somehow. My dad didn't speak, but my mom muttered, "You look different." I smiled and said, "That's because I am." Throughout the evening, I didn't try to win anyone's approval or hide behind polite smiles. I laughed when I wanted to, left when I felt done. For once, I was in control of my own story. As I walked out the door, I realized something powerful. I no longer needed them to validate my worth. The pain they caused had become the very fuel that built the new version of me. Sometimes walking away isn't the end of love. It's the beginning of self-respect. If this story made you feel something, hit follow for more real stories of family, betrayal, and redemption. Your support keeps these voices alive and helps more people find strength through their own struggles.